This is, I was about to say trophy, and that's not true. It's the Between Shadow Society Season 2, Part 6. Let's talk about our active threats, of which there are only one now, the Whateley Camera, because one of them got resolved last time, the Demon of Coburn Abbey, and Sally No Face, we learned in our stinger, is now a servant of Admiral Flagg. So that leaves us with Whateley Camera. As a reminder, this is the mystery where a actress, Penelope Levy, has gone missing. You think it's this camera that it was in the possession, or is in the possession of a group called the Society Obscura. And the Society Obscura, it's been hinted that they were given the process of how to make the camera make people disappear, but then like it comes into dreams and then it leaves, right? So they can never like quite remember it. You all are focusing on one question, basically. What circumstances will cause someone photographed by the Whateley camera to disappear? And answering that question is a complexity 8, and answering it will give you 2 opportunities to either resolve the threat by reversing the process and bringing Miss Levy back, or using the camera to transport yourself to the fragrant void, which is the dimension we think the entity in the camera lives in, and make contact with the entity. Doing so gives you access to the custom move Void Walker. So, and you could do both, I suppose. You can bring Penelope back and then go to the fragrant void. But in any case, you have 3 clues currently, and they're all weird. And good luck making a theory out of it. But the nice thing, the thing about this question, which is maybe a little different from other between questions, is this is a process. Like it's not like a motive or a who did it or where is it. It is a what are the steps we take to make this happen, right? So that's why it can be a little kind of weird like this, because you're basically doing a ritual, right? So that's where we have. That's what we have as far as the threats go. Taking a look at the hunters, everyone's pretty good on conditions. Some just has the one that he has to have, and then Miss Everly Gray has none. Graves has a couple which are pretty narratively interesting, as does Miss Blakely, actually. Although I think if you want to unmark marked by the Demon of Coburn Abbey, you can do that, Miss Blakely. So
I think I'm going to leave it for a little bit, just because, sure, the demon's gone, but the,
but you know who's not is Sister Eudora.
Yeah.
Superior Eudora. Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. So still though, fairly good shape for everybody. Any questions or anything you want to be reminded of before we begin? Okay. In that case, day phase. New threat. Our threat today is the West End Wraith. You can follow along on the tab there. The Palais de Gaiety is a popular music hall in the West End, providing an evening of drinks and entertainment for working class Londoners and the odd group of more well-heeled patrons slumming it in private boxes. There has recently been a string of unusual activity. Gifts left in locked rooms, personal items of little monetary value missing, odd graffitied poetry in all but inaccessible places, and several near-miss accidents affecting patrons and staff. Superstitious performers whisper of a haunting, attributing the activity to the West End Wraith. Lady Pipewell, who is actually an actor and singer called Billy Bowman, Lady Pipewell is the rising star of the play. She fears that they are the target of an obsessive fan. The manager, Miss Lily DeVere, is concerned for the safety of her staff and patrons, but wary of spreading panic. She has approached Hargrave House for a discreet investigation. And here I'll mention that Lady Pipewell is Billy Bowman, the character or the actor who portrays Lady Pipewell, or he's a singer, I guess, is in modern day context, we would probably call them gender fluid. Back then, he would have been like basically a gay man doing drag, but uses all pronouns. So whether Billy or Lady Pipewell, it's up to you. A question for Ms. Everly Gray. Lily DeVere, the woman who owns the music hall, you met her parents. They were actually the founders of it. What tale of your exploits did they share with her? And why do you still harbor a lingering suspicion that their deaths were not what they seemed?
Now they're city folk?
Yeah, they founded the music hall, and then they died, and in some way, and then she inherited it. But she's actually come to you for help with this matter.
Right. I think it has something to do with my hunt. She inherited it only years are passing, and there's a suspicion that the beast had been in town at the time, and her parents' bodies were found on a makeshift, what I would recognize as an altar for the beast. And Scotland Yard, of course, got the details wrong and then chalked it up to whatever serial killer was around at the time. But I'm pretty sure that it is part of my hunt. And I think Lily suspects it too.
Oh, interesting. So, okay, interesting. So, good. So that makes a lot of sense why Lily would come to you, right? With this West End Wraith matter. Now we have a question, which is Lily DeVere or Billy Bowman the target of the Wraith's obsession? And does the Wraith seek to help or harm them? So it's like a two-part question. Who is the actual target of the obsession? And are they trying to help the target or harm the target? It's a fairly simple question, just a complexity too. But once you figure it out, it unlocks the next question. But your basic lead is to go to the theater, so the music hall. There are loads of characters there to interact with and things to look at and do. You also have the Whateley Camera active. You may also wish to do some vulnerable scenes if you are laden with conditions, though no one really is right now. Let's go around the table, find out what everybody wants to do first. Mr. Graves.
I would be interested in the vulnerable scene because I have a couple of conditions. It would make sense to clear one of those. I'm open to suggestions on which investigation to pursue, because I think Graves and Artemis went to the Whateley Camera previously, so it kind of makes sense to follow up on that. But then the follow-up was more going to be a night phase thing, so maybe I should go to I'll go to the music hall in the day and start investigating there. See if I can.
Let's see if we get the
veil and find the ghost.
Yeah, let's see if we can get the vulnerable scene done first. Okay, so your vice is absinthe, which definitely does not sound like an on the way in the cab thing. So maybe something back at the house. Ms. Blakely, do you want to do absinthe?
I have an idea for a vulnerable scene, and I could actually do it with Graves and Miss Everly Gray in a split thing. So starts with Graves, ends with Everly Gray. But intrigued. It is a surprise for Miss Everly Gray.
Shall we start with Mr. Graves then?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Sam. Is it? It's not going to be your thing, Sam. I'm pretty sure.
Frame up the scene.
It could be anybody's vice, really. It's a little bit of a three-way.
It's getting more and more interesting. Maybe just tell us what the scene is.
Okay. Blakely catches Artemis and Graves in the house at some point. My dears, I actually have a little bit of an outing planned for us, if you wouldn't mind. And you can tell she's kind of forcing being nice a little bit. If you wouldn't mind joining me in a hansom cab in about 10 minutes. Just bring yourselves. Everything is ready to go.
I thought you wanted to stay as far, or wanted me to stay as far away from you as possible. This doesn't sound very well planned.
I'm an excellent planner, my dear.
For events, parties, I'm sure.
And that is what we're heading to. An event.
Why?
It's a surprise. I realized in the last couple of days that it might be a little bit beneficial for me to get to know my fellow Hargrave House colleagues a little better, and so I've set us up a surprise. Trust me, my dear, you don't want to miss this.
Interesting.
I'll see you in 10 minutes. And Blakely saunters off, and I imagine there's like a little...
Hopefully we'll see Rob soon too.
Yeah.
Rob dropped down. So we'll pause and give Rob a moment.
About the last thing.
Okay, so we're back with Rob. Okay, so Amanda, just give us like a little recap of what you're proposing here.
So Blakely has set up a surprise for Miss Everly Gray and Mr. Graves in order to get to know each other a little bit better. And that is all she's really said about what it is. She's actually trying to be nice. It's not coming across very nice, but you know, she's doing her best. She's not good at that. And she'll set up, she has got a hansom cab waiting for everybody for whenever they're ready. And she's sitting in the cab waiting. Door open. Hurry up. Don't have all day. The day phase isn't that long.
Well, I must say, I'm intrigued, if nothing else. And Graves will step up into the cab.
Artemis will make a point of grabbing the top of the cab and then swinging herself into a seat.
Oh, Blakely bites her tongue and just tries really hard not to roll her eyes. You can see them kind of roll a tiny bit and then just come back.
Problem?
Not with you, my darling. We're perfectly great.
Ah, this is getting more suspicious by the moment. Can't wait to see where we end up.
And the door closes, the cab drives off, and it's a little bit of a lengthy ride. It takes us out of town along a road that doesn't look like it's been used very much in the last few years. And we pull up to a really beautiful mansion of a home that's in disrepair. Again, doesn't look like it's been used for a few years. And behind and beside the home is these beautiful gardens that are a little bit overrun now, and a little bit, the grass has gotten tall, the weeds have gotten big. Looks a little bit wild. We are, of course, at Brathwaite Hall, and this is where the cab stops. Blakely leads Miss Everly Gray and Mr. Graves into the gardens. There is a pile of blankets and pillows spread out, and a picnic basket with bottles of wine and bottles of absinthe and glasses. And standing next to this blanket are 5 very attractive, very naked people. And they are grinning. One of them is so excited that they are bouncing on their toes, people of all genders, and just smiling, very excited about the surprise that's about to happen. Blakely leads Miss Everly Gray and Mr. Graves in. Welcome to your surprise.
I will add here that a trip out to Brathwaite Hall will take up your day phase. There is nothing after this. So make it count.
Well, a glass of wine would be welcome at this time.
Miss
I
Everly
must say,
Gray.
you've arranged quite a view for us, Miss Blakely.
Oh, just you wait, Mr. Graves. Just you wait. Miss Everly Gray, I assume you brought some sort of weapons with you. Just assumption.
Yes, I did. What is the meaning of this again?
I find myself inspired by one of the people that used to inhabit this beautiful home, a young Miss Tatiana. Now, she would hunt people here in these gardens. She would hunt them, unfortunately, to their demise. And, well, we wouldn't want that for our beautiful little bunny rabbits here. And you can tell that now, upon looking at these very beautiful, very
Is this
naked
an Easter
people,
themed day phase?
they have
Throw that out
little,
there. Okay.
maybe, they have little bunny ears on. And Blakely spins her hand and they turn around and they have little bunny tails. I will leave it to everyone's imagination how they are attached. And Blakely says, our little bunny rabbits here, well, they're going to run and they're going to hide. And Miss Everly Gray, I know you do like the hunt. What sort of head start do you think we should give them?
I think Graves is just chuckling to himself at this point and
time.
pouring a glass.
We could be investigating some of these cases that have come across our way over the past few days. Why did you take us away from the city?
My dear, because sometimes you need to let loose. And there's no better way than this.
Oh,
You had
Optimus,
the
come now,
opportunity.
we just vanquished a demon.
Graves, stop. You had the opportunity to let loose the other night, and you didn't take it. Not my problem.
Oh, and you don't want to take this opportunity. My little bunny rabbits are going to go hide, and they'll be ever so sad if you don't go find them. They have a grand, great prize awaiting whoever hides the longest. Of course, you get to decide the prize, Miss Everly Gray. Unfortunately, those who get caught, well, they have to return for their punishment, and Blakely pulls a little flogger out of the picnic basket. They'll return for their punishment. The smiles on the bunny rabbits get bigger. Graves and I, well, we're excited for the spectacle. I'm assuming, Mr. Graves, that you are hoping that Miss Everly Gray will take us up on this.
Oh, this seems to me a delightful diversion. I think we've earned a day off.
Let's check in with Sam. Sam, how's your day face going? What are you doing? What do you want to do?
Sum's day phase is entirely wholesome. But I think after realizing that like everybody is gone, that the house is quiet, he just like goes out into the city and he'll end up after like having a walkabout and like thinking about poetry and like maybe even writing a few of his own verses. He'll end up at that theater that we need to be looking into.
The play to Getty.
Yes.
Very
The
good.
music hall. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So are you going in through the front, through the back? The back is like where like staff and performers would come in through. Then the front is like sort of where you would go through if you're a patron. It's the day, the middle of the day, so there's really like not a whole lot going on. It's more of a nighttime place, but
Yeah, I think like Sum is just, he's also kind of making a day of things. And he's like picked up some treat along the way, you know, as he's got money, even if people
I
don't
think they
like
just
to
give
serve
it.
him.
I think they just give it to you. Just
They don't even
go
charge
away.
him.
Yeah, just please leave.
Yeah, I don't know what a period appropriate
Probably
treat
like some
would be.
like some chestnuts or something, right?
Oh, that's nice. And he's eating those, and like he stuffs them into his pocket whenever he gets to the place and kind of dusts his fingers off. And he'll just knock on the front door, like he wants to have a look about.
And I think no one will answer, but the front sort of like entryway, like the sort of lobby foyer area is just open. Anybody can walk in.
Yeah, he'll just wander in.
Let's talk about the foyer. With hollow plaster Grecian columns, chandeliers dripping with paste gems, and once plush, now sticky red velveteen carpet, the foyer to the palais is an artful illusion of extravagance. Before performances, which is not right now, it is alive with patrons waiting for friends and scrounging together the price of a ticket. Right now, though, it's a bit empty because it is early in the day. The paint the scene question is more of a nighttime question, and so I'll ask you, what do you do once you get here?
I'm just wandering further in to kind of have a look around, see who's here.
Yeah, so if you kind of keep going, you'll notice that in the sort of main seating area, patrons would be seated around tables facing the stage, where food and other drink would be kind of at. There is a bar at the back of the auditorium. And the stage is there. And the curtains are closed. And you can see that a couple of workers are trying to scrub off a message that has been painted in giant letters on the closed red curtains. The message says, "Love never dies," in gigantic letters.
Yeah, and I think some has like popped a few more of these chestnuts in. And it's like questionable why he even bothers, whether he can even taste them. But I think the want to do something is what drives it. And like through a half full mouth, he's like, "You're never going to get it off that way."
We'll come back to this scene. Okay, Miss Blakely, what's going on now in your little spectacle here?
Blakely is now reclining on the blankets and pillows. Her outfit is very sheer silk, absolutely ridiculous thing to wear out in public. I guess it's not really public. The bunny rabbits are all looking at Artemis very excited and expectantly, like nodding and encouraging. You know, Miss Everly Gray, this bunny rabbit here, and Blakely points to a very strapping young man with like some solid calves. He actually ran on tracks or some such for what was it? And the young man responds, Oxford. Yes, that place. I don't actually know if Oxford has a running teams. Don't worry about it.
We are not historically accurate, dear.
Don't dwell on it.
Her face changes. This is absolutely splendid. She opens up her hands to the excited bunnies and says, "On the count of 3, you will all scurry off into this place, and then we shall begin the hunt in earnest."
Blakely raises her glass to Miss Everly Gray, and then raises it to Mr. Graves. It seems like we do get our spectacle after all.
It seems you have won Miss Everly Gray over to your riparian entertainments.
1, 2. Before she says 3, she spins around. She proceeds to somersault into a crouch on top of you, Blakely, and contemplates you for a moment. Best not be a bottom, dear. It's a poor angle for your face. Then she kisses your nose and then somersaults off.
Likely just doesn't move.
3! And they run. I imagine.
Oh, the little bunnies scurry off into the overgrown gardens.
She turns
Meanwhile-
back to you and basically says, I do not appreciate wasting time. We'll
Well, it's
go
a good
back to
thing
this
we're
later.
not wasting time.
According to you. And she will run off after someone.
While we're at Brathwaite Hall, Mr. Graves, you are always sensitive to dark energy. There is something in this house, this abandoned now for a number of years, overgrown, disrepaired manor. There's something there, something coming from below. What do you do? Something I'll note that the season 1 characters didn't follow up on.
Yeah, I think Graves is initially playing along with the game, although he's not the hunter that Artemis is. He gamely pursues some of the prey, but as he's drawn toward the building, his curiosity about what this feeling he's experiencing takes over, and I think he, with a glance around, he glances around and can see none of the prey, and Artemis has disappeared into the trees, and Miss Blakely is away back with the picnic, swishing her crop, and Graves just kind of ducks into the house, forgetting about the others and what they were doing.
You can follow this feeling for a time. Your dark companions practically urging you on, down into the kitchen areas, over to a large pantry area where there's a trap door in the floor. The trap door is locked with a chain and padlock, but you can hear scratching on the trap door and shuffling feet.
Well, surely there can be no one hiding down there. But I think Graves is so curious at what this could be that he glances around looking to see if there's any, optimally a key, but maybe there's something you can use as a lever to break the lock and chain.
Yep, you can. Let's cut back to Sun. Sun. You say what you say, and the workers turn around. It's a pretty dim space. They have just a couple of like lanterns kind of laid around the stage so they can see what they're doing. It's otherwise quite dim in there. And I think that makes you more or less kind of invisible. They hear you, but they can't quite see you. They turn and they say, "Who is that there? Theater doesn't open for another few hours yet."
I'm not here to take in a show just yet. I was hoping I could find some of the talent or owners. I hear there is a mystery afoot. I'm one who looks into these sorts of matters.
Miss DeVere is out, but who are you here to see?
As I said, either some of the talent or the owners. Though anybody who might know more about exactly what's going on here would be helpful for my investigation.
At this point, somebody comes from backstage and it kind of comes through the curtains. It is an elderly woman. She comes out and elderly woman, kind of like dressed in sort of like a simple kind of like plain dress. And she says, "Who is that there? Someone who has business with the Palais de Gaiety? You can speak to me until Mr. Veer gets back."
Yes, someone. That
Yes,
is
well,
the
come on.
right name for me.
Step over, let's get a look at you.
Certainly. And I'll kind of clump my way up.
And she says, "Dear God," quite audibly, if you're here to audition, you'll want to find the Grand Guignol down the way. This is the sort of place for wholesome family entertainment.
Give his awkward smile, but sincerely. No, I'm not here to audition. I'm here, well, my card. And I think on the back of one of those Sally No Face cards, he's like scratched it out and just written like some Hargrave House.
I think one of the workers like approaches and looks a little like nervous and uncomfortable, but extends his arm to take it from you and then kind of goes back. And this woman, she looks at it and she says, "I know who you are. You're the one who's been playing these tricks lately here at the theater, aren't you? Finally revealing yourself to us, you devil."
No, I have to say, I'm here to investigate. I am not the one doing it.
I feel like this is the day move. They are probably going to want you to leave. But what are you actually trying to do? I assume you're trying to get in so you can investigate more.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I'm just trying to investigate, trying to.
What do you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
Yeah, that they'll turn me away here.
I'm going to make you roll at disadvantage because of a disappointment and a horror.
I would like Kip to show up. I've got food. He smells food a mile away, and he can vouch for me.
He smelled you and chestnuts from a mile away. Good. This is Kip.
Isn't that right? He's in my personal quarters.
He is. I don't know why though. Why is Kip Longfellow?
You put him there. That was your call.
You gave him best
because that's right. Because he's connected to Pope and everything. That's why.
Yeah.
He's an adult now, right? Or he's pretty close to it.
It's been 3 years. Yeah, I don't know how much.
Well, young
he's
man.
15 or what. Yeah.
Young man. He says, "Why, it's my good friend Sum." And he comes up and slaps you on that loose arm, which might respond a little funny. And he says, "Are they giving you a hard time here? Go ahead and roll with flat dice."
All right. What's my modifier?
Presence.
Right.
Assuming you're marking Kip.
Yeah, I'm marking Kip. So 9.
Okay. I'll tell you how you'll be vulnerable. How you're going to be vulnerable is basically this woman is going to let you go around, but you're going to have like a hanger on the whole time. If you're okay with that, then
I think I'm all right with that. Yeah.
okay. Kip says, "Now listen here, Mrs. McCluskey. You and I, we go way, way back. We're good friends. And I'm here to tell you that this man, benighted though his appearance may be, is in fact here to help."
Oh, young Master Kip, it's so good to see you again. Would you care for a chestnut?
He says, "Always good, my good man, always." He takes it, wipes it, pops it into his mouth.
Are you working here now? Did I see you scrubbing the curtain?
And we'll come back to this. Speaking of Kip, back at this trapdoor situation, you've managed to wrench off the chain. flip open the trapdoor. There is a small, narrow stair that goes down. Nothing immediately there when you open it, though.
I'll look around for a candle or a lantern.
You can find a candle easily
And
enough.
yeah, and take a look down.
I would like the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
I'm afraid that something is going to jump at me out of the dark, but I don't think Graves is particularly afraid of dark places or dark things.
That's a fair point. It's a fair
But
point. We'll keep it
physical harm is not something he's
into.
in. Yeah, he's
It's worse than that.
Skilled.
They will jump at you and they will tear you apart. If you wish to proceed, by all means, let's roll dice. It's going to be with
let's roll dice.
composure. And yeah, just composure.
I just bumped my composure. Let's see. That is an 8.
8. I have to tell you how you'll be vulnerable. How you're going to be vulnerable, I'm not going to tell you what this means yet. You have to just agree or turn back. How you're going to be vulnerable is you will have to take a place at the table.
Debating whether to take that or to use a mask.
We can always role play
Well,
it.
I'm intrigued. I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah. Oh, I see the question. Yes, there is a mask for the West End Wraith, and it can be chosen twice. It's the mask of comedy and tragedy.
Mm.
You go downstairs with your candle, and you see a large, round table in the middle of this basement area. And sitting around the table are a dozen ghouls, their flesh pulled taut over bone, and they're wearing knightly vestments. And a couple of them are standing and waving rusted swords in the air. And they're all just like, and one of them pulls the chair for you, inviting you to sit down.
Curiouser and curiouser. Graves will take a seat, take out a cigarette, light it, and wait to see what happens.
You're going to take a condition, Knights of the Round. Meanwhile, what is what is Miss Everly Gray, the hunt? What's happening with all this scene here, Miss Blakely?
I think Miss Blakely hasn't really noticed that Graves has wandered off into the house. She thinks he's off chasing some bunny rabbits. And every now and then she can catch a bunny rabbit running through the gardens. She never spots Miss Everly Gray because Everly Gray is too good at this. And I think she kind of sipping wine, and Blakely nods off. And I think we're going to have a little Greco dream. Blakely hasn't been sleeping well. She's been having nightmares about being stuck behind walls and falling from parapets, etc.
You have the cosmic passage marked?
I do.
Very good. Greco visits you in a dream. I'll describe the dream space. The dream space is a sumptuous salon with just 2 sort of like fainting couches arranged so that you are laying on one, he's laying on the other, head to head. And he says, Beryl Blakely, I approve of your choice of accommodations.
This is my choice. I thought this was a dream.
Miss Blakely, dreams are merely a manifestation of what the subconscious desires. Your desires haven't fully expressed themselves yet. And he looks over and you see a large red door. He says, I don't recommend opening that door.
I think Blakely looks at the door and then quickly looks away. She can't even bring herself to look at it, not even in a dream. What's behind it?
I'm afraid if you open that door, your long, storied career comes to an immediate end.
How? I can just avoid opening it though, right? I could
Not
just.
forever. You'll open it someday.
I think in the background, it starts to look like the door is bleeding. Blakely refuses to look. But well,
He's there. In the dream, his painted on eye is an actual eye, glowing bright and white. He says, why have you called me here, Miss Blakely?
I didn't realize I was calling you. But
Oh,
you're
Miss
here.
Blakely, you who have so much command of your self, of your mind, of your ways, your thinking when you are awake, are like a helpless little girl when you are asleep. It is most amusing.
Well, that's quite rude. I suppose if you're here, you might as well help in some way. This this camera, an actress gone missing. You see into people's dreams, so you say, or in mine. What have you seen in dreams about this camera?
He smiles. Per the rules, I think there's like you get like 2 clues maybe on him if he helps you.
I can't remember for the
I'll,
life of me. I was trying to find it.
I'll find it. This is a creature of Kermore Gardens. Let me look real quick. Greco can be consulted. Oh, it's just you can just reach him. There's no other special bonus. But we'll come back to this scene. What are you doing right now, Miss Everly Gray? Actually, think on it. Let's take a 5-minute break. Okay. Well, so Miss Everly Gray, do tell what's going on right now.
So she makes like she runs off into the forest. But then, as soon as she's out of sight, she slows her movement to a walk, looks around, and then immediately takes to the trees and claps her hands. Actually, no. She does have her staves with her, and then she will like pull the staves out and then just kind of clap them together. And she will call out to the bunnies. I am Artemis Everly Gray. And whatever she's promised, I can beat it. Come out, wherever you are.
You have wandered to the edge of a lake on the property. And you can hear something splashing around in the water. Just 10 or 20 yards from the shore. There's something there. Too big to be a fish. What do you do?
Do I see anything?
At a glance, no. It's like whatever was there. It's like as if they were looking at you and then went under.
Do I see a boat?
Nope.
Okay. because she didn't know what she was going to get into. Damn it. This would have been a perfect time for a grappling hook and a rope. Shit. Actually, no. She's actually going to, because I'm assuming I have time to do this. She is going to break off the appropriate branch, strip it, and then pull out some twine that she has in her utility belt, and then make a bow, and then make some arrows, and then she's going to shoot one.
While this is happening,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is begins crawling up shore.
Great. Awesome.
It rises up. A skeleton wearing what appears to be waterlogged knightly vestments. Water dribbling down. Lurching toward you. You've probably seen your fair share of undead. But nevertheless, day move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
You're a long way from home, friend. So she, it's gonna, slay her and drag her into the lake, so.
Yeah, make a composure roll.
Composure.
Oh,
Let's
no,
see.
probably sensitivity, actually. Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm like,
sensitivity.
wait, what?
Because we know it's a supernatural thing. Sensitivity.
Right. That would be, sorry. Sensitivity is a 1. Okay, that's a 9.
You're going to keep it together, but the thing is going to escape the scene, and you're going to get a condition marked by Tatiana Brathwaite.
I don't like to be marked by things that are dead. Can I use a mask?
Can?
Yep.
Marking the mask, I'll let you deal with this however you wish. Describe it.
Actually, now I have to decide which mask I want. I want to do my Mask of the Past, but Cosmic Passage looks so tempting right now. No, I'll do Mask of the Past. Wait. Cosmic Passage is more appropriate after that one. All right. Yeah, so she pulls out her staves and she just, again, she says what she says, and she will do the percussive movement which causes a sound wave to disrupt the skeletal remains of this thing, and then she will rush in and basically do a Mortal Kombat finishing move. Bicycle kicks and pretty much thrashing with both staves and then splitting the ghoul thing in half or into pieces.
Yeah, it's done.
Yep.
It just lays there. It's tattered vestments and bones. We're all laughing at chat if you're watching the video. I won't explain it because it won't make any sense. Let's cut over to back over to Sam. So Kip is with you. Mrs. McCluskey has sent her son, who also works at the theater. His name is, what's his name? Jackie McCluskey, or maybe, well, what is the gender of this character? I'm going to say it's her son. Jackie's very kind of solid, kind of slicked back hair, wearing a waistcoat, and he's really keeping an eye on you, son, right? And Kip is there as well, and Mrs. McCluskey says, Ms. DeVere said that she was going to find someone to look into the matter, so I suppose you must be it. Well, just mind that you don't scare anyone too much or be a little too untoward with anyone. We've got our eyes on you. And then they lead you to the back. There are a few people around, or people who work on the production, and you'll hear someone singing something from what's probably a dressing room. It might be Lady Pipewell, the star of the show. But in any case, what do you do?
Yeah, I think I would either just like interview all of those people, kind of a montage, or I would go and see if this is the star of the show, and if they would talk with me.
I think I will give you a general information move for the montage. It's going to be with, the condition's going to hurt you, but you can definitely do it. It'll be presence.
I think I'll try and help things along here with my Quicksilver tongue and my ability to manipulate light and things like that to maybe not
Obscure
be such
your
a disappointment
appearance.
in a horror.
Yeah, obscure your appearance. Okay, I'm into it. Let's see how that might work. Quicksilver tongue. Gifted conversationalist, you take advantage. Okay, oh, I see. Because of speech or persuasions. As long as you're doing it from the shadows, that sounds great. And I think there'll be enough to balance it out. So go ahead and roll flat dice.
All right.
With presence, please.
7.
7. Good. Give us the montage, and then I'll give you the answer.
Yeah, I think Some just finds a stool somewhere near the shade and sits down in the deeper shadows, and like invites people over. So you never really see his face. There's a dense shadow that like crosses perpendicular across his large body, but people are still a little bit unnerved because the one hand that they can see is missing a finger, but he's just kind of charming, and he asks that kind of the same questions, and it starts off without like really probing things, just like, oh, how long have you been here, and what's your name, and seems you're doing a fine job over there, and then like gets progressively more into like the heart of the matter, like, what kinds of things have you heard about what's been going on here lately? Do you know anything about what was written on the curtain? Have you heard any strange rumors going on about the lead or perhaps the owners? And
It's a very workman-like investigation. It's very, I mean, DI Pettigrew should take notes. Very good. Yeah.
Right. But I think it takes a long time.
That's good. I like it. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's check in at the round table, shall we? Mr. Graves, you're just sitting here with these fucking ghouls. The scratching was one of them just like dragging his sword on the ceiling. 2 others are like dueling and kind of like just very slowly and like a strange pantomime. Some of them are like as if they're having a conversation, like discussing something very important in the realm. One of them like slams his fist on the table and it just crumbles into a pile of dust and bone. What are you doing during all of this?
Graves is taking this in and he's trying to determine whether these ghouls are animated by like the souls of their former life, or are they just kind of marionettes that are being controlled by something elsewhere. So I think he's trying to open himself up to determining that via looking through the veil.
Intriguing. So you have a couple of options here. If you use thinning the veil, you get to just ask what's about to happen in the very short term, right? Which I'm happy to tell you. But yeah, so why don't you do it? I mean,
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Yeah, because I'm Graves. Yeah, Graves wants to know where this is going. So,
what is the mirror stand-in that you're using in this environment?
well, Graves took the, yeah, I think the St. Petersburg mirror is too large, obviously, for him to carry with him. This is something that's something he would do at home, but he does have in his personal quarters a smoky hand mirror.
Very good. And if you want to mark that mirror, you can definitely roll with advantage as well.
Yeah, let's do that. So that's best of 3d6 plus sensitivity.
Sensitivity, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's going to be a 7.
A 7.
I rolled a 1, 2, and a 3.
Very good, very good. Let's see what it says. On a 10 plus, or no, sorry, we're doing Thing of the Veil.
I may ask what is about to happen.
What is about to happen? And I'll answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. I don't guess I need to. Or no, I'm going to use a mask to bump that up to a 10 plus, because I'd also like to know why this is about to happen.
Oh, very good. What is about to happen is you're about to be contacted by a woman you do not know and have never met, but you've heard the stories, Theodora Brathwaite. Why is it about to happen? Because she wants you to help her get revenge on Miss Blakely.
Matt, you trap a person in a sapphire and then everyone hates you. It's rude.
Mark your
Well,
mask.
this is going to get interesting. I will do a Mask of the Past.
Well, and so we'll come back to this. Let's check in with Miss Blakely. Miss Blakely. Go ahead and take the information move with sensitivity vis-a-vis Greco.
That is a 9.
Very good. Greco says, the entity that resides in the camera, though it is probably more accurate to say that the camera resides where the entity resides, the camera existing in multiple planes of reality at once. The entity does not communicate like you or I. The entity communicates via symbol and urges. This is the key to understanding its ways. And then it looks, or he looks over and he kind of sways his hand over for you to look, to draw your attention over to something. You see a gray door, perfectly rendered in paint next to your red door. It's so realistically painted that it almost looks like a door, but it's not. Greco says, that door, for example, is it a real door? No. But in almost every other way, it functions as a door, does it not? It looks like a door. And if you were to approach it, you might be able to step through it. The gray door is key to understanding how to access the fragrant void. The complication is, he says, unfortunately, if you step through the gray door, the red door will be waiting on you. If you go to the fragrant void, Miss Blakely, you will not return.
Well, then I suppose I'll have to take care not to go there.
Choice is yours, of course. That's your clue, though. The Grey Door. And I would like for you to put 2 marks on the cathedral. One for this whole day and one for this dream. We're just about ready to wrap up this day phase. Let me give a clue to some acquired from a day of of questioning. The complication sum is just going to be that this is all you can get done for the rest of the day. So, but I will tell you what you find. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a thing they want to say. A lot of it is just like easily dismissed as hysteria or someone just trying to seem important or just trying to be in on the drama. But one thing sticks out. And that is this. Ms. Lily DeVere, according to one member of the production, Ms. Lily DeVere was not supposed to inherit the theater when her parents died. She engineered that after the fact. That's your clue. Let me check in on just Ms. Everleigh. If you want to put a little capstone on your scene here, that'd be great.
She rounds everybody up after finding out it was just a complete faff of a day, and has them all lined up and tied up with twine for their little wrists, brought back in front of Blakely. And she has them essentially kneeling in front of her.
You caught them all at the same time, I see. Are they all winners or are they all losers?
For purposes of making sure that they don't suffer punishment, I would say they're all winners. And I don't appreciate this exercise wasting time.
Oh, my dear, it was not intended to waste time. It was intended to be a gift. A sort of reaching out in terms of establishing at least a truce. We don't have to like each other, but it will help us to work together, to have some sort of truce. I am not practiced at things such as inane flattery or some such. This is the type of thing that I do in order to reach out.
Are you standing or are you still laying on the ground?
I think at this point she's probably sitting up. She has her flogger in her hands because they're still going to get their punishment. They're very excited about it. They signed up for this.
And she leans in close. She will crouch on the ground next to you where you're sitting, and she will lean in close. And for a small second, you will see the artist peering from her eyes. And the artist says, "Peril," with a very disappointed look on her face. And then Artemis will just kind of snort and go, "What you do for fun is totally incomprehensible. But I guess if they signed up for this useless time, then have at it, I suppose. We need to get back to town as soon as possible."
Oh, of course, of course. If you don't appreciate this, I'm sure Graves would, but he's often disappeared.
Indeed, he has. Don't think vulnerable move's getting triggered. Let's go to Graves. Graves, you catch a glimmer of blue in your little smoky mirror as you are looking into it. You know that you are meant to speak to someone in the mirror. You have to move the mirror about a bit to get the right angle, though. Do you do so?
Oh, yes.
You see a woman, an older woman, wearing a blue gown. She says, "You don't know me, Mr. Graves. I am an acquaintance of your colleague, Miss Blakely. I see that you found my little backup plan. I myself dealt in the dark arts, and I had come up with a number of ruses and rituals in order to accomplish a very, very important task to me, but that feels so long ago now. I was wondering if you might help me with something, Mr. Graves."
And what might that be?
Well, our dear Miss Blakely is going to try to wriggle out of taking the journey to that strange place you all call the Fragrant Void. It is very important that you convince her to take that journey. In exchange, I will help you with the coven when the time comes.
I think at the mention of those words, that's the first time Graves' composure breaks. But he recovers himself and says, "I rather like our Miss Blakely. I would hate to see any harm come to her."
Fear not, Mr. Graves. I like her quite a lot as well, and I just want to spend more time with her.
But her spending time trapped with you is perhaps not to Miss Blakely's taste.
You will discover soon enough, Mr. Graves, that Miss Blakely is not nearly as in control as she would like for you all to think. She's gotten lucky, truth be told.
But who among us truly are? Are you in control?
Mr. Graves, I am Theodore Brathwaite. I always have plans within plans. Not even death can soak my ambition.
And yet, here you sit, arranging these dead things. Not much of a plan to my mind.
Find me, Mr. Graves. I'm happy to continue this negotiation at an appropriate time. Perhaps when your other colleagues come to London looking for you.
I think at that, Graves snaps the mirror down onto the table.
We'll end the day phase there with the knights doing their thing in the background. Let's go to the dusk.
I think I'm going to try and answer this question on
Which
the
one?
West End Wraith.
Oh, the initial two-parter.
Yeah, I'll just take it at the -1 because I love the idea of like some has done this whole bit of it by the time you get back.
So I've got it figured out. So who is the real target?
I think that Lily is the real target and that the Wraith seeks to harm them.
Okay, and it's mostly because of this rumor about the inheritance, right?
Right.
It's pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I think so.
Roll -1.
Okay, let's see. 7.
It is correct, but there will be some difficulties in this from here on out. Let us talk about the next question. The next question is the one that's unlocked. If the Wraith seeks to harm, we have to determine what motivates their obsessive pursuit of the target. It's complexity 4. It has to be more than just a mere matter of inheritance. Resolve the threat by tracking the Wraith to their lair for a final confrontation to kill or capture them. So, pretty straightforward. You just got to get more of the story, basically. But it is now available to you. I'll write that down later. Let's go to the desk phase. I think we have, yep. Let's talk about Hargrave House. Let's do the ballroom. Hargrave House once hosted a ball for a group of visitors from the Fey realm. Even today, there are subtle reminders of that night in this room. What are they?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yep, it's over there on the left. Hargrave House once hosted a ball for a group of visitors from the Fey realm. Even today, there are subtle reminders of that night in this room, the ballroom. What are they?
When you look up at the ceiling, during the day, when all the lights are on, it just looks like a regular ceiling. However, at night in candlelight, specifically in candlelight, when you look up, it looks like the night sky. Like you're out in a forest looking up through a opening of trees.
There's on the table, there's etchings of particular patterns to represent the different houses or the different courts that were hosted for that gathering.
In a box on the sideboard is a set of wooden cutlery that was used so that the Fey guests were not forced to touch anything metal.
There's a long portrait on the wall that kind of runs, not the full length of the table, but a long distance along that wall. But it's a bit of Feyan art and shows, it depicts a place in the Feyan realm. But more than that, as Feyan art, it shows the present circumstances of that place as well. So if there is something going on in that landscape, it will subtly change to reflect it.
Intriguing. Good. Let's continue on with our desk phase. What is everyone doing tonight? To Janice Max in a minute. Let's go around the table. I will note here that the Palais de Gaiety at nighttime is a very different kind of place than in the daytime, right? It presents different opportunities. So just know that you may want to go back there, some or anybody. But also we have Whateley Camera, the Society Obscura still out there in the world, or maybe there's other things you want to do as well. But in any case, Ms. Everly Gray.
She is pissed. So she is actually going to continue on with what she wanted to do during the day, and she is actually going to visit someone she has heard of that knows something about strange worlds. She's going to visit the opium den and visit the man in the sun mask.
Intriguing.
with
I love it.
Penelope's picture to see if it triggers anything.
I love it. Thank you.
Blakely is going to go to the Society Obscura. She hasn't been there yet, and she can probably get some information from these people. Come on. They're going to
Oh,
love
yeah.
her.
They're
They're going to love her.
Mr. Graves?
I'm tempted to see if I can get an invitation to accompany Miss Blakely.
You are welcome to go with her. And some?
I think some got a ticket.
To go back to
Yeah,
the musical.
He wants to go. Yeah.
I'm a paying customer.
You can't turn me
You
away.
can't turn me away. Good. Fantastic. All right, great. Let's take a look. Janus Mass prompts. We have a few Janus Mass on the table right now. Who wants to go ahead and do theirs?
I can go.
What is your prompt? say?
Mask of the Past. So the prompt is narrate a flashback to your childhood. It shows the first time you encountered a dark entity. So I think we see a young boy, 5 or 6 years old, perhaps. And he looks up as his mother enters the room. And she says, "Crawford, I have something for you. Look what I brought you." And she kneels down next to him on the floor and sets out this, unwraps this box. And inside there is a cardboard model of a theatre with the various little characters that are little miniatures that stand up, and you can move them around and arrange them. And he's just delighted because he knows that this is what his mother does during the day. She's an actress on the stage. And there are various of the characters that he recognizes from stories that she's told him. Bits of the plays that she's performing in that he has been told about. And later that evening, by the light of just a single candle in his room, he's playing with this toy theatre and arranging some of the characters, 3 witches from Macbeth. And he's doing some of the voices and setting up the scene. And his eyes caught by the fact that one of the faces on these tiny paper figures, the eyes turn to look at him. And as he catches it, then another one at the same time. And then a voice comes. "Fair is foul and foul is fair."
Thank you. Any other Janus Mass prompts that need to be resolved?
I have this one. Narrate a flashback to where you watched the beast destroy the family member that understood you the most. Every generation, no one knew who would eventually be chosen. So, if the dubious honor and curse fell on the heir to the title, it would be passed down to a cadet branch of the family. Everly Grey is one of the few titles passed through the matriarchal Grey line. So, once I was chosen, the title went to my little cousin Andromeda. She was my biggest supporter, a better sibling than my brother ever was, and squire for my early adventures. You worry too much, Themis. The wards are in place. All the sentries took precautions, and you know Samuel will ensure Kellen is secured. He'll guard your brother with his life. I know this is a burden for you, but remember, My spear and sword are always at your service. Perhaps my fiancé with his American relations could get a hold of some peacemakers for us to learn. It was supposed to be a safe family gathering at home. We were all around in anticipation for what we knew was soon to come. That night came a cacophony of sound and flashes in the darkness. The boom of thunder, lightning crackling outside the library window. And there it was, the beast. It was still partially in its monstrous human form, with that massive boar's head sitting atop its shoulders. It broke in, tossing aside the guards and me, knowingly grabbed our cousin by the throat with its misshapen cloven fingers, and used a bubbling blood portal to leave. I remember screaming into the rain and darkness, fulfilling the declaration of this age's long curse. For this transgression, I renounce you as family. I will hunt you down until death brings us peace. I name thee the Beast. We found Andy the next morning, torn open on a hastily erected altar at the edge of the property, a sacrifice to that pagan filth mock. My brother, Kellen, becoming the Beast, had no more status, no riches to give. All that was left to offer was blood, innocent family blood.
Thank you. Ms. Blakely, did you want to tell us about the cathedral?
I do. That's quite the follow-up.
Yeah, good luck following that.
Right? That's so intense. I love it.
I'm glad I went first, yeah.
Kind of cutting back to Blakely's dream with the door and kind of pulling out of Blakely's dream into seeing her just napping on the blankets, wine glass in hand, starting to spill. We cut to the cathedral. And in the cathedral, there's a song being sung by the choir, and it sounds peaceful, like almost like a lullaby. But as the song continues on, there starts to sound like in the background of the song, somebody is screaming in pain and agony. And it's quiet, and it gets louder and louder and louder. When the song stops, it abruptly stops. And the choir doesn't seem to notice. Pulling back out to the outside of the cathedral, a group of young boys go running by the cathedral. You could hear the song being sung inside of the cathedral stopping. One of the young boys stops in front of the doors and throws a tomato. The tomato hits the door, and the juices of the tomato run down the door looking like blood.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about the unseen. Tonight's unseen is going to be a night at the museum. This is in the third row, third one over. In the heart of Bloomsbury, rather, the British Museum has recently been expanded and renovated, housing relics of civilizations plundered by British adventurers, explorers, and colonial officers. Kamal Mansour once led excavations in Luxor, but came to work at the museum as a caretaker. We follow him on his nightly rounds. There are 4 prompts, one for each of you. The first will be for Rob, and Mads, and David, and Amanda. I will see you on 5. A night at the museum. Rob, Kamal sighs as he sees the soot and grime of industry settling on the Parthenon marbles. What scenes does he see of classical Athens that demonstrate its role as a dominant center of civilization and martial power?
There's relief sculptures of Athena herself with her aegis, and it was Athena that had the aegis, right? And an owl, and then there is the flowering of Athenian democracy with the Parthenon itself, and the great orators of the Athenian state, and then a relief of one of the mighty trireme ships of the Athenian navy with the eye on the prow and the battering ram on the front. And yeah, and I think there are, tying these all together, are kind of these hints of the gods smiling upon this ancient culture, particularly Athena herself.
Very good. It is the night phase. Let's start with the music hall. Well, now in the foyer, the place is filled with people. So many people that you're actually able to blend in reasonably well. Some, although I would like to know how you make that easier on yourself in terms of the manner of your dress and stuff.
Yeah, so some is always kind of wearing his patchwork clothes, but it's okay in a crush. You don't notice the patches unless you're immediately next to him. But I think he has perhaps perfumed himself a little bit to not be as obviously the source of the smell. That what is that smell? But these are kind of everyday folks, so it could be anybody.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's paint the scene. Everyone, what is something that you spot, or one would spot, that immediately lets you know the differences in class and wealth of the patrons? Because there are some wealthy people slumming it here, right?
The wealthy people are, oh, sorry. Oh, okay. The wealthy people are slumming it, but they are still dressed better, even when they're wearing their poor people clothes, even they're wearing their poor people costumes. It is still better material. There's many fewer patches, have not been repaired multiple times. Everything looks, their outfits, their clothing, their hair, everything is so much nicer on the wealthier people. So they still stand out.
The entrance has double doors, but there are also 2 single doors on either side of the double doors, and velvet ropes that divide the outside and the inside. Even though these people are dressed similarly, they go through these smaller side doors, follow the velvet ropes, and go up to boxes.
Like when someone gets to do TSA pre-clearance and you don't.
From there, they go up a separate staircase, and there are boxes that overlook the stage, whereas the poorer patrons are seated on the floor in front of the stage, often with not the best view. There are pillars supporting the ceiling that can be in the way of some people, whereas the boxes have this perfect look view down upon the stage, and the richer folks can literally look down on those beneath them.
There's ushers that will literally serve those that are in those special boxes and then everybody else has to go cram over at the bar or whatever is the makeshift bar off to the side to get any kind of refreshment, while again the richer patrons will be served something specialized for them.
Fantastic. We'll come back to this. 1 second. I swallowed some water wrong, so I'm kind of coughing my brains out. So, Limehouse. Jenny Johnston's opium den. You step into the opium den, and I will tell you that in the place where they collect coats and shoes and things, you will see a Royal Navy officer's coat hanging at the coat check. But what do you do?
Does it look like it has, well, decorations, medals, bars, whatever they have for pips, to denote station on the jacket?
No, but I think there's something about the smell that reminds you of Admiral Flagg.
Of course. Yes. Well, I still proceed in. Hadn't looked at the old codger for a few nights, so why not? Fine.
Come back to that. Society Obscura. You both step out of the cab. I'm curious how you're dressed right now. Miss Blakely?
Very French. Just very, the cuts are a little more revealing. The fabrics are a little more exotic, so to say. Not extremely extravagant, like it's not a ball gown by any means. It's just a regular evening dress, but a little bit much because it's Blakely.
Graves, anything particular about your dress?
I think Graves is dressed in his best evening wear, but being Graves, it's all very dark, muted colors. Even the shirt is a dark gray and a black silk cravat and a top hat, and of course the ever-present cigarette in his hand, trailing a cloud of smoke behind him as he leaves the cab and puts his hand out to help Miss Blakely down.
The front door of the Society Obscura. Well, first of all, there are not many lights on in the house. It all seems pretty dim. The front door is open, and without approaching and getting the details, you can tell that there's someone just in the doorway, kneeling in the doorway. What do you two do?
Walk right in. Walk right up.
Graves?
Yeah, I think Graves is accompanying, he has his arm out to accompany Miss Blakely, and he will stop by the person kneeling and just...
The person kneeling in the doorway is Periwinkle. He is dressed in what appears to be his tunic again, the Greek tunic, but he has melted wax dribbling down his face and his shoulders, and dripping from his hands. And he opens his mouth, and thick strands of wax. And he says, I am Icarus, flown too close to the sun. Let's go back to the museum. Mads, polishing the marble floor in a room of Roman relics, Kamal takes a moment to look around. What items tell a story of the supposed decadence of Rome?
Almost as a match cut to the periwinkle with the melted wax, you come out from looking at several vases that have figures etched in it that look like they're in ecstasy, staring at a sun. And then there's another vase that will show a reclining goddess with a line of pleasure seekers tied up by the wrists, parading in front of her, and then another vase that has another set of figures getting flogged for fun. And then you see Kamal in the foreground, polishing the marble floor and just looking at these vases and just shaking his head.
Does your ticket take you through the more exclusive rope line or into the general public?
I think it's a general admission.
Indeed, indeed. You have a spot at a table. Everyone's sitting around. It's like little tables, you know, it's almost like a dinner room theater kind of thing, right? Or dinner theater. And they call them the stalls. Patrons are seated around tables facing the stage. Drink is being consumed and food. There's a steady stream of beer and gin coming from the bar at the back of the auditorium. Constant noise from the audience. Whether the murmur of conversation or interjections to the performances and loudly expressed critique. You have all manner of jugglers, dancers, singers, that kind of thing going on. It's a boisterous sort of scene. Paint the scene, everyone. How do we see that the audience are truly absorbed by the performances? And what are they looking for in them?
There are, although among the richer patrons in the boxes, there are waiters and waitresses circulating with trays of drinks. They are just being ignored because the patrons are so wrapped in attention on what's happening on the stage.
All of the noise that happens from the audience is happening between performances. And if you pay attention, every conversation is still centered around what they're seeing. They don't just divert back to whatever they had been talking about before or something about today. It's all about the show. And I think a lot of these people, this is what they're looking for. This escape, this forgetting about the day. This is important to them. For an evening, they can forget about everything except for what they're seeing here.
You can see on the faces of some people, they're enraptured faces, watching, reacting emotionally to everything that's happening on the stage with, you know, laughing or crying as things happen. You see a lot of young women who likely don't get out much. The type of women that don't really have jobs, that aren't really required to work. In fact, it's looked upon negatively if they do, up in the boxes. They don't get to have a lot of diversions in their lives aside from this, and they are looking for that escapism and finding it in the theater.
The audience responses are appropriate for what's happening. So the cheering, the cat calls, the almost as like a bit of audience participation. So they are responding to whatever scene or whatever is being performed on the stage. And they want the escapism, they want the emotion of whatever is being told or being shown on the performers' faces or in their bodies. And they are responding, they are leaning in, and they are, again, calling out appropriately for whatever they want to see.
Sun, what are you doing while the performance is going on?
So I think everybody's eyes are on the stage, and that's perfect. Because some can just kind of, between performances even, the eyes are still like more stage centric because they're waiting for the next thing. But those conversations, the hubbub about what they just saw and about the theater generally, gives some an intro to the other people sitting at the table he's at. Like, tell me more about what you've heard about this. And he's just kind of trying to goad more information out of onlookers.
Take the information move. I'm invoking your condition to put you at disadvantage, but go ahead and take it.
Okay, I'm trying to suggest that they are not looking at me, and I'm using my silver tongue.
Oh, I see, because they're enraptured by the, yeah, to the flat roll. Go for it. So you're not fully in the shadows.
With
Presence.
9.
We'll come back to that. Someone calls over to you, Ms. Everly Gray, from one of the little private cubicles. It is very interesting. In the Greek myth, it is not Artemis that seeks the sun. And yet here you are, Ms. Everly Gray.
Well, I presume from the accoutrement on your face, you are the man I seek in the sun mask.
Yes, it must be true. Do you partake? And he offers you the opium pipe.
I do not. I figure it's enough that I'm breathing in this with by second hand. But I wanted to seek you out.
Please. And he points you to a little cushion next to his.
She sits down.
What is the nature of your visit, Ms. Everly Gray?
She reaches behind her into her little pocket, whatever, and pulls out the photograph. I've heard tell that you understand strange worlds.
Yeah. He says, oh, yes. And he takes the picture. He says, I have seen her. An actress. It's a picture of Penelope, to be clear, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
An actress on stage. She was remarkable. What a funny picture this is. There seems to be some strange discolorations. I don't know much about the process myself.
It's not the process I'm interested in.
Holding the picture gives me a queer feeling.
I was in the place where it was taken. It had the label on it as being the astral plane room. Does that mean anything?
It does indeed. And I think I'll do the roll first. Actually, let me see how you're supposed to interact with the sun mask here. Oh, you should get an extra clue. So yeah, do the information move with I think it's sensitivity because of the topic area.
Okay.
What'd you get?
6.
Ah, he says,
I, of course, can speak at some length about the astral plane. I am very, very familiar with that particular realm and matters related to it. And you're correct. I do know something about other worlds. But it would be much easier, in fact, for me to show you, Miss Evelyn Gray. Would you like to see the world as I do?
And how would I do that?
It's very simple. You have but to stand up and face away.
Out of character, it's like, yay! But I'm like, shit.
think on it. We shall come back. To make the scene even weirder, Miss Blakely and Mr. Graves, the hallway just beyond our poor, kneeling, wax-covered periwinkle is flashing with a strange light that the two of you would not have seen ever, but we understand to be like a strobe light effect, blinking wildly behind him. If you wish to proceed into the Society Obscura, I need night moves from you both. Each of you, please tell me what you're afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve.
Oh yeah, definitely
And
going in.
Mr. Graves, your role is being made at disadvantage because of marked by the Whateley Camera.
I'm definitely going to go in. I think Blakely is afraid she's going to get wax dumped on her head.
It is worse than that. You will have wax poured over you and you will die screaming, scalding, horrible death. We'll do our best to keep it off screen, but it will be an unfortunate death. If you wish to proceed, by all means, roll with composure.
Who's a 6?
We shall come back to that. And what are you afraid is going to happen if you fail or lose your nerve, in this case, Mr. Graves?
I think Graves is worried that the entity that has marked him will have him at a disadvantage. Will be able to take him unaware.
It is worse than that. You will be taken unaware to the fragrant void if you cross the threshold. By all means, please roll disadvantage with sensitivity for you.
That's a 7.
You might as well bump it because I'm giving you a condition and you're going to have to mark Janice mask anyway.
Let's bump it, yeah. Is there a mask associated with the Whateley Camera?
There's not.
No.
And I feel...
Makes it extra dangerous.
Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't take one from the Wraith because I haven't been involved in that investigation.
You cannot anyway because you have to be actively investigating it.
Right, right.
Anyway, you're bumping it up. You look at your mask. I'm going to cut over to, well, actually, that's the whole sequence. So let's go back to the museum. David, in the Egyptian hall, Kamal is surrounded by the works of his ancient ancestors, some of them pulled from the sands by his own hands. What here demonstrates the inevitable looming death?
So there is a really amazing entryway into this wing that is like it's almost like you're entering into one of these burial places that would be in ancient Egypt with the pillars and they've removed enough of the sandstone bricks to like brick up just that entryway, so you can pass through it into the interior where all of the pieces are, and they're all tomb finds. You know, the jewelry that somebody was buried with over here, and the precious pottery over there, and the statue cats that would have guarded the place. But the further you proceed in, everything has its explanatory plaque. That's probably, you know, who knows how accurate they are at this time period as to what these things meant or were about. But as you proceed closer in, you see kind of tilted up at about 45 degrees or so is the sarcophagus. The lid is removed, but it's facing out and it's right next to it. The sarcophagus's lid is just amazing. It's been, it was preserved very well, but it has been done up, I think probably by Kamal himself, to further enhance what it, so it looks more what it would have originally looked like. But next to the beautiful lid is the open sarcophagus with the decomposing body of whoever was rotting in here. Its eyes gone. Its rictus grin visible beneath the rags that cover most of its body. Teeth a little bit blackened.
Indeed. Thank you. You got a mid result, right, Sam, on your information move?
Yeah, and I think if we were watching the show, it'd be the same teeth that we come back to as Sam is watching the show, yeah, smiling, his rictus smile.
Very good. Billy, well, Lady Pipewell, nay Billy Bowman, is on stage singing, and Lady Pipewell is actually very, like, this is a rowdy, ribald sort of, you know, occasionally vulgar, low humor sort of like show. But when Lady Pipewell is on stage, it is like high opera. It is beautiful. And there are people like, they actually get quiet and calm. And there are tears welling in their eyes of some people around you as they are listening to the music. How do you respond to Lady Pipewell's music?
Yeah, I think it's that smile. It's like poetry. It's beautiful. Some is drawn in to the show.
Indeed.
Just like everybody else.
I do owe you a clue, so I'll give it to you now. Oh, you will pick up on a lot of chatter about this whole like haunting situation or whatever, right? The West End Wraith, among the patrons, is starting to be a thing, right? And some of the patrons believe it's connected to the murder of a performer a number of years ago, back during the time of when Ms. DeVere's parents owned the place. But that's your clue. Somebody wants to write that down. And in the middle of the show, right as Lady Pipewell's song is concluding, you will see someone standing up in the catwalks above the stage, the area called the Gods. And someone calls out. You can tell they are addressing you, some. The shadowy figure says, "You are trying to keep me from my love, and you have stepped into my domain to do so. That was very foolish of you. But welcome to the show. Love never dies, but I am afraid the same won't be true for you." And you hear the snapping of cords as the giant chandelier above you is falling down, about to crash on top of you and all the people at your table, some. Let us cut away briefly. To the Limehouse.
So, would you like to take me up on my offer, Miss Evelyn Gray? Would you like to see the world as I do?
That is a very tempting offer. Huh. Do you think I would actually see these other worlds you speak of?
Oh,
Or
yes.
that you know?
You would see that and much more. In fact, I suspect that you would learn a little bit more about this creature you seek.
A temptation all too dear. Yes, I will. So she takes down her cowl and then she stands up to turn away from the man in the sun mask.
You hear the mask being removed and placed over your face. And you hear behind you what I see, Miss Evelyn Gray, is rot. And the best way to disinfect the rot is with sunlight.
Fancy meeting you here, sir. Why am I not surprised? And I'm still turned away from the man in the sun mask, with the mask on my face.
We cut over. Miss Blakely, you step inside and you see in a mirror, smiling, Theodora Brathwaite, but with thick, oily black tentacles wrapped in a loving embrace around her body. And she says, "How good of you to step into my trap, dear." And you don't see it, you just feel it. Intense, terrifying burning. As something scalding hot is poured over you. And we just see you on your knees, much like poor Periwinkle, except it has melted your face, leaving just a pinkish red skull. And Theodora says, "Funnily enough, I like the look of you better now."
Well, I'm using a mask for that. How dare she say that?
Indeed, indeed. Put on your mask and we'll figure out what really happened when we get back. And what was your result, Mr. Graves? You got a, oh, you bumped it up to a 10, right? You're just keeping it together as you're both walking in. Just describe how you're kind of keeping control of the situation. You're muted, Rob. Oh, we can't hear you, Rob. You're muted.
Yeah, Graves is holding Miss Blakely's hand to steady the both of them as they step into the across the threshold of the building, and he kind of squints his eyes to ward out this flashing strobing light, which is like something he's never seen before. And they step past Periwinkle and see if the light seems to be coming from anywhere or if there's anyone else around.
You can take the information to roll with sensitivity.
10.
We shall wrap up that scene when we get back. Oh, I need to step away for just like 1 second. Give me 1 second.
I've been humming the Phantom of the Opera theme in my head for like the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've got the lyrics like pulled up over here on the sidebar.
You ready to start singing?
I mean, basically, like I was raised in high school and college on Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera, so I've done all those songs.
Yep.
Okay, let's go back to our last stop with Kamal. Amanda, Kamal pauses in the doorway as he sees two young scholars meeting beneath the statue of Ganymede, one of them nervously clutching a pamphlet of Uranian poetry. As he watches, how do they awkwardly, wordlessly negotiate their assignation?
This room that they are in, it's dark. There's no lights on. There's no candles lit. There is a little light coming from the full moon outside through a window, straight into just an open spot on the floor. They don't want the art or the statues, etc., to be in direct sunlight because it's bad for them. So there's nothing that could be struck by any sun or moonlight. But they're both young men. They're both very attractive young men, but seemingly very awkward. And they step through this moonbeam towards this statue, which is next to a large, long velvet red curtain. They hide behind the statue next to the curtain. And the one holding the little pamphlet of poetry hands it to the other, awkwardly, like, here, take it. The other young man laughs a little and pulls out of his robes a small flask and two little goblets and pours them a little drink each. And holding up the cup, he looks strikingly like the statue of Ganymede, holding the cup for the nectar. I think it's called nectar. I'm not up on my Greek myths. Anyway, and the two young men clink their glasses together, and before they take a sip, they awkwardly lean in, both closing their eyes too soon for a small kiss. It's still sweet, though. Then they take a sip and smile somewhat shyly at each other. Kamal closes the door to give them some privacy and continues on.
You have a choice, son. You can dodge out of the way of the chandelier, and I don't need a die roll for that, but it will kill everybody at the table. Or you can try to stop the chandelier and save everyone. Which do you choose?
Yeah, I think I will try and save these folks. I think I just drop underneath the table and then lift it above all of them.
I love it. This is going to be night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I'm afraid the chandelier will break through the table and get us all.
I think that's probably right. And I think it's worse than that. the West End Wraith will take their revenge, or whatever they're trying to do on Ms. DeVere. And therefore nullifying the purpose of the threat. So let us go ahead and get some dice on the table. You can definitely use Caliban's Fury here to take advantage on a vitality roll. You're muted.
We have an 8 still with all that.
Yeah. You're going to succeed. I'm just going to basically just injure you in some way with a condition, but otherwise, if you're okay with that, that's what'll happen.
Yeah, vulnerable scenes are always interesting with some, so I'll let it stand.
Describe how you save them. What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think it's just as I've described. Like he falls kind of sideways down underneath the table as he sees this is happening, and then immediately lifts the table up. People are still seated, their drinks are there. He doesn't have time to like forewarn, so people are getting knocked and jostled and bumped by this violent action. And he's standing there holding a table over top his head, and the chandelier comes crashing into it, and whatever happens with it explodes or it impales into it, but nobody gets really seriously hurt from it. But he's standing in the middle of the room with this whole thing, and everybody's looking at him, and he's just like, sorry, I didn't mean to jostle you so roughly.
And I'm going to just say that one of your other arm is wrenched out of place during this. But so just note that as a condition, and we'll wrap up your night phase there. The things you see through the sun mask, Ms. Everly Grey, are for you, but I will give you the condition, Sons of Another World, and I will let you choose to reflect the information you might have gained about the beast. I will let you choose whether you mark right now an X or an O. Your choice.
Considering I'm not beating up anybody at the moment, it's like I want to pick an O.
Very good. Admiral Flagg says, very soon, a sun brighter than any sun this world has ever known will shine on London. It will shine on London, and it will clean the rot. I was rather hoping that you might help me bring this about, given your heritage and predilection for destroying foul things.
I will admit that this is a foul city, sir. But does it match? Or is it less than the possible darkness that exists in you? Shall I tell you what I know? Or what I suspect?
The Man in the Sun mask removes this mask from your face and puts it back on. And he says,
You don't have to say anything to me, Miss Everly Grey. Like the god Apollo, I see all.
we cut. I owe a clue, I believe. Or no, what just happened with you, Mr. Graves?
I rolled a 10 on the information move.
No, do I do indeed owe you a clue? Let's just have our sort of like you keep your nerve together, Miss Blakely, as you step into the foyer. But I'm going to give you the condition, the sapphire. Because the room is not just flashing like a strobe light, it is also in black and white. And the only color that you can see are whatever is colored blue. What are you thinking or feeling right now?
I think, and it ties in a little bit to the darkened threshold, which is the mask I marked. I was going to mark the gilded door, but I'm like, oh no, too many conditions, because I can get rid of the gilded door. Anyway, or sorry, I can get rid of that condition. Anyway, I think Blakely is clutching Mr. Graves' hand really quite tightly. She swears she caught a glimpse of Theodora Brathwaite in the hall mirror. And now this blue room that is reflecting exactly the type of light that the sapphire she has in her pocket gives off. She is feeling very overwhelmed and underprepared. And it is not a feeling that she likes. She feels like
Mr.
a little
Graves.
bunny rabbit walking into a trap.
Mr. Graves, the clue is sitting on a long side table in the hallway. 3 objects in a row: a monocle, a magnifying glass, and a telescope, each with a cracked lens. Someone wants to note that in the clues, that would be great. That will conclude the night phase. Let's go to the dawn. Dawn questions. We did get a capital Q question, so everyone gets credit for that one. We have not yet resolved a threat, but let's do echoes in the night. Miss Blakely, did you do an echo in the night?
I mean, mine was heavy-handed, but yeah.
Did you secretly show a vulnerable side to someone?
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Greco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you create an ornate over-the-top erotic experience? Yes. I don't
go very well.
I don't know how much pleasure was derived, but
Yeah.
it happened. Good. Mr. Graves, did you experience an echo in the night?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you counsel someone using your supernatural affinities as the basis for that advice?
I did not have an opportunity.
Did you make love to a human in order to forget the darkness?
I got distracted by the sounds from the cellar door.
Indeed you did. Indeed you did. You also marked quite a lot of Janus Maz too. This was, mechanically speaking, not a great session for Graves, but story-wise, a fabulous session for Mr. Graves. Let's go to Some. Did you experience an echo in the night, Some?
Yes.
Which one? Remind me.
Teeth.
Oh, the teeth. That's right. Were you extra gentle with someone or something because you know how strong you are?
I think I made a point that I wasn't able to accomplish that.
Did you openly walk among people? Yes, you did. I think you did that a lot today. So, Ms. Everly Gray, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yes. Basically, the match cut from the wax on Periwinkle's face, like kind of ecstasy mirrored on the vase.
Did you revel in the thrill of the hunt?
I don't know. I mean,
it's a weird question. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think you did. Although there was a hunt, I'm not sure if you reveled in.
No, that was not the kind of hunt she enjoys.
Yeah, you were on the back foot almost in both things that could be considered a hunt this session. Did you tell someone why their plans were poorly made?
Yes. Told her, it's like, this is not exactly like, for somebody that you're trying to keep away from you, this ain't working. I don't know what your problem is.
Good. Fabulous. Let's move on. Are there any open Janus Mess prompts?
Yeah, I have the Darkened Threshold.
Please do.
As Blakely steps into the Society Obscura and catches a glimpse of Theodore Brathwaite in the mirror, we flick back in sort of a not really a montage, but sort of a cross section of a whole bunch of different dreams and memories that Blakely's been having. She's been struggling to sleep at night. And we see Blakely, and she is talking to the artist in a busy London setting many, many, many years ago. And people are milling around, and nobody's looking at her. It's very strange. It's like she's almost invisible. The artist turns to her, and suddenly it's Artemis and says, "Oh, but you are nothing special, dear," and walks off. Blakely angrily spins around to storm away and faces a wall, just a brick wall. And she spins back towards the artist, and there's another wall, and she's just encased in them. She beats on the wall, and it crumbles down, and she is back in a London setting. But this time it's London now. It's London as we see it in the show. And she is again walking down the street, and she catches a glimpse of Theodore Brathwaite in her carriage and waves. Theodore Brathwaite comes over to her in the carriage and says, "Oh, yes, you. What is it that you want?" Blakely says, "Well, we had a marvelous time at our date at the theater, didn't we?" And Brathwaite says exactly what she said the first time when Blakely brought that up. And Brathwaite pretended not to remember. Blakely, her face falls, and Brathwaite rides away in the carriage. She turns away again, and again there's another wall. And that's when she jolts awake with the arrival of Miss Everly Grey returning back to the picnic site.
Fantastic, thank you. I guess that's Stars and Wishes, yes?
I owe you a...
Oh, you owe me one.
Mask
Oh,
as
what
well.
do you got? Yeah.
I was going to take Gilded Door, but I can't have another condition, so I'm going to do the next Mask of the Past. Narrate a flashback to your young adulthood that shows your first sexual encounter with a dark entity. Graves is asleep in bed. He's a young man, 14, 15 years old, perhaps. This is after the scene we saw in a previous mask where his mother passed away. He is a little older than that now. And in his sleep, he begins to stir uneasily and moan. And in his mind, has this androgynous creature astride him. And it's an uneasy but pleasurable mixture of joy and pain. And we cut back to the scene of the room as the door bursts open, and we see that Graves is alone, but floating 2 or 3 feet above the bed and writhing in ecstatic movements. But a voice from the door that burst open booms out, "Demon, boy, you have the devil within you. And at this voice, Graves wakes and crashes to the bed, which splinters under him. And standing in the doorway is his grandfather, dressed in a severe dark suit, clutching a copy of the Bible. His grandfather, who is a Calvinist minister and deeply distrustful of, who took Graves in after his mother died, and is deeply distrustful of what kind of upbringing this boy was given by his licentious runaway daughter. And Graves just cowers in the corner of his room in shame and horror, with the sheet from his bed wrapped around him that we can see is stained with some kind of black, oily liquid.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, stars and wishes. Quite a session. Who wants to go first?
Star for Detective Sum on the case. That was great. But I wish definitely that, like, much as it's fun to have Sum off on his own, I want to team Graves and Sum up again, because I feel like they had a good dynamic in some of those early episodes in this season, and that would be good to build on. Obviously, a star for the scene that Miss Blakely said at Brathwaite Manor. That was quite the party, and I'm sorry that Artemis and I did not partake in it as fully as we ought to have done. I really enjoyed
You had
this.
zombies to deal with, to be fair.
Yeah.
In your defense.
Zombies are very distracting. Sunny making an appearance was fun. That was some good stuff. Yeah, good session all in all. Things didn't go in the expected direction at all.
Stars for going along with my weird idea. I won't say that, an Easter egg hunt didn't kind of inspire, but it was also a little bit of Tatiana Brathwaite and The Most Dangerous Game. But thank you so much for stars for everybody for going along with that silly idea. And I'm really glad that it turned out completely not that, because I think that's just so much better, and it makes so much more sense in terms of where everything was. I said it at Brathwaite Hall because I thought it would be more interesting, and I'm really glad that you ran with it, Jason. Thank you so much for that. I also love Detective Sum. Detective Sum is great. And
yeah, I had a really good star for the Brathwaite Hall idea. I was not expecting that, but I was happy to go back there. The Knights of the Round Table being in the basement, that was the case last season, but you all did not go down there, and so we didn't get to see that. But I'm glad we got to do that. I'm glad it was Rob's character to do it. In fact, Rob and Mads' character both had these really interesting, kind of season one, references that sort of happened to their characters that also happened to the characters in season one. So I thought that was really intriguing. Loved all that. This whole session, in fact, had lots of callbacks to season one, and so that was really enjoyable. All the stuff with Theodora and whatnot. And I like how this sort of we're kind of leading up to this Theodora's not done with Miss Blakely and is in fact going to get her revenge on Miss Blakely, right? I'm kind of enjoying that storyline. And so, yeah, that's very fun. And I also like that we're seeing, you're starting to get a chance to see what Admiral Flagg's big plan is, right? Is to, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and he's going to prove that in grand fashion, I think. We saw with the Stinger, there was sunlight coming up from below, and then we have hinted very strongly that Flagg and the Man in the Sun mask are connected in some way, or might be the same person, who knows. In any case, it was really, really intriguing from an lore building standpoint this session. So very happy about all that. I also enjoyed some sort of like being off doing his own thing. That was really fun. I was glad I got to give that ridiculous speech from the West End Wraith, which is fun, which is directly in the text, by the way. Yeah, so it was a good session.
Definite stars for Detective Sum, and I mean, it's always lovely to. I mean, it's terrible that we're letting you go off on your own. It's just, oh God, please, that wish. Please, let's, go with Sum to prove he doesn't have to be by himself all the time, and yeah, definitely star for the whole ballet gaieté, because that was, I mean, that's like a really fun seeming location, and then the speech, it was just funny to get like musical theater like vibes from it, and be like, okay,
I mean, the chandelier falling.
Yes,
through,
the chandelier
right?
fall.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God. It's like, first The Omen, now we're going to do Phantom of the Opera. Great, awesome. That was cool.
Yeah, we were all posting Phantom of the Opera lyrics in the chat.
I was also reminded of the fact that in Penny Dreadful, the creature there was like operating all the ropes.
Worked in the theater, right?
Worked in the theater.
Yeah. It feels very referencing that. Well, I like the idea of Sum being focused on this one, just because Sum is a kind of a like Frankenstein, Quasimodo like kind of character, right? And that's what this thread is.
Yeah, but for Pope's family to watch, he would be right there alongside this guy hauling ropes. Stars for the very interesting turn of events at Brathwaite Hall, and the whole like Theodora's not done with us yet callbacks. All of that was great, and like all of it felt good. Kind of revisiting Brathwaite Hall and seeing that like things are not really quite put to bed there, like maybe everybody thought that they were. Apparently Blakely didn't scout the location.
She's got people for that, and okay, yeah, they didn't show up again, but that happens sometimes.
Yeah, they're just, oh, it's fine. Like, don't mind those folks down there in the dungeon. Like, they're part of the. Are they though?
Why would they look in the locked basement?
Or like checking the pond for this thing, but hey, none of them got eaten. None of those poor bunny people who got somehow roped into this didn't get eaten by a ghoul. So, all's well that ends well. But that was a great, very interesting turn of events. But I really am in enjoying like that Theodore's not done with us. That she's somehow like reintegrating into this whole mess, and the Fragrant Void aspect of that is a very like interesting avenue for that to kind of occur. It makes the threat feel so much bigger than just like a regular threat. It's really, really cool. So I really enjoyed that. I loved how Mads was playing Artemis's like just displeasure at the whole situation. I was like, I can't believe you, Blakely. Like she's not drawn in, not even for a moment. Just like, you got to be kidding me. But Graves is like totally on board with this until he comes across a cellar full of ghouls.
That's the only thing more fun than whatever Blakely had planned. Yeah.
The only thing that could have torn you away from that scene was the Knights of the Round Table themselves. Yeah, that was all awesome.
Any other stars or wishes?
Just more wishes for more Sum. I love Sum. I just want everyone to have scenes with Sum so I can see them.
I didn't do any wishes, but I think I am really wanting to see the Coven threat, so I hope that comes into play pretty soon.
Yeah, we got through a couple of Masks of the Past, so I guess that's pulling it closer?
Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, you can when you unveil it, the way it's designed is like you can go through a lot of your Mask of the Past, and so we know a lot more about the Coven, or you can reveal the Coven early, and my portrayal of the Coven informs how you narrate the Mask of the Past, right? So it's sort of a.
We did have a brief intro to them last session, but yeah,
yeah. But so yeah, I'm excited to see that. I am excited it's kind of a longer term wish, but I am excited to learn more about the Beast. Another longer term wish, I'm interested to see if some will be accepted by the family he is looking out for.
I have a question about that. Can you mark masks on that roll, or is it locked at whatever your original result is on the roll?
It will, if you can't use a mask, the move will tell you. The rule is you can use the mask. So
okay, so I can
you can
avoid the awful fate if I have to.
If you wish, yeah.
As long as I still have masks. Okay, so that's good.
Yeah. And yeah, so I'm just excited to see all that stuff. And I'm also very curious to see. I am curious to see how this stuff with Theodora resolves. I think that'll be very intriguing. So yeah. Anything else before we go?
I might have a wish about. I've got an advance. I might write a move. I might just take a modifier, but I'm considering writing a move that basically is like the orphan can attempt to resolve or do it, like act on an opportunity during a night phase, like he gets to, but only if he does it alone.
Oh, I kind of like that. That's pretty good. Yeah, there are some moves in the game that have those like kind of like solo play moves. The Legacy has one, in fact, where like if you go hunting at night by yourself, you're better at it. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm into it. Can talk about it in the interim.
Definitely the first order of business for Graves next time is to clear some conditions, because he's now full, and also actually
you're in the death spiral right
now.
now.
For once.
Yeah, you're in the death spiral right now if you get conditions cleared. So yeah. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, this is a fabulous session. Thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.